Afternoon to your viewers and listeners. I would say that, well, it has been a tradition that each time we are invited over the years, and indeed what I presented is some of those points that we made available to them that we expect this particular budget to capture some of them, if not all. So we were invited.
I see. But in there, did you make any input, or even let me ask you about your assessment of the first, 10 months of the John Dramani Mahama government? Have businesses felt the relief and respite brought on by the sound macroeconomic indicators?
Well, let me say, generally, looking at where we come from, there's a bit of a stability. And in terms of economics, they've stabilized the key macroeconomic indicators. They brought down the temperature of the macroeconomic indicators. As my brother indicated, the inflation and all those kind of stuff have come down. But just that at a point somewhere, somewhere there was a slide. And normally when there's a slide like that, it creates a bit of panic in the business environment, because the Ghana market is a supply market. So when you give your goods out on credit at a certain exchange rate and there is a big drop, you can't go back to the market and say, I have changed. So there was some bit of loss there. But generally, the government has stabilized the economy and things looks quite good. Just that the government is not spending. So demand is very low. And I made a statement to that effect. And the governor of the Bank of Ghana also came and confirmed that demand has dropped almost like 70% in the market. People are not buying. And only 2 days ago, even local rice farmers, local maize and all that, they had demonstration in Tamale that their goods are not being bought and all that. So these indicators, these are numbers, fundamentals, very good, beautiful so far. And we hope that we continue in that trend. But there have to be an activity in the country.
So from what you see, what I get to understand is that after that stability, businesses or the private sector must be empowered so that we can feel the real impact of the stability on the ground.
There have to be, and that's what I expect in this particular budget if we get to that. There has to be a certain level of stimulation of demand, because people are not buying. And we are deep in there. You go out and generally, whether it is food products, hardware and all that, and I do a lot of research and talk to people, people are not buying. And so because of this particular low level of demand, you find out that smuggling has increased, because people are finding different ways of being able to sell below the fair market price so that they can be able to make up some money. And that's a challenge. So the fundamentals look very beautiful and all that, but we need to get people to begin to buy so that businesses can begin to take it to the next level. Otherwise, as this is now, there's a complete squeeze. There's no money in the system. Everybody say no money in the system. As we can see, the government is continuing withdrawing money from the system through the treasury bill rates and then all that and auction and all that. So we need to do a lot in this particular coming budget to stimulate demand, to create more economic activity. And that is when we can begin to take it to the next level.
Very well. Let me come to Francis Timoboy, and from where you sit as a tax consultant, if you look at the picture in terms of revenue expenditure, John is making a point that the government is not spending, something that the government says is not true. They are saying that, well, contractors are saying that they have not been paid, but government says it is spending. It has made some allocation to some of its, budgetary projects and policies. So if I'm asking you about revenue expenditure, do you feel some form of fiscal restraints or a compression of capital spending, for which reason we are not able to see the effect of the stability in the economy on the individual or even business level?
So to be honest, I think that the team have done well, because before the changeover, you could feel some heat in the system. And they have demonstrated to Ghanaians that they can deliver results. We've seen a number of indicators going down. Inflation is fantastic today. The exchange rate has been very, very stable. In the midst of them scrapping a number of tax handles, you can only be disciplined. because immediately they came, betting tax went away, e-levy went away, and even at the port, custom duties was underperforming because of the appreciation of the cedi. By mid-year, we were down by 1.6 billion. And so if your revenue is not coming, the only disciplined approach will be that you are always careful with your expenditure. And it's not easy for a government to do that because there's always pressure. We've seen the Nurses Association pushing very hard. And if you are the Minister for Labor, you always cannot sleep because there's pressure. And so for me, the fact that they've been able to contain the pressure and they are not spending according to how much they are getting, and that's what we normally miss. Sometimes we don't have the revenue, but we say, okay, there's pressure, so let's spend. And then we get out of hands. So I think that they've learned their lessons. Lessons has played a very key role. You know, this is a returning government. So they've learned their lessons. IMF may also have whipped them into, line. So overall, I will give them kudos. And again, it sets a very complex platform for this minister going into 2026 because we've seen you doing well. Can you sustain that in 2026, especially when the coach goes away, the IMF, and when they pack their bags and go? Will you continue to be disciplined? We all know that revenue, and for that matter, tax revenue in Ghana is a problem. And in addition, our oil revenue is also not looking promising. I think PIAC has released a report,
half-year report,
that we have a problem, no new investment. So that tells you that projects like the free SHS, which largely depends on the oil revenue, they are all at stake. So you consider all these things and then you put yourself together and say, okay, look, money is not coming. What do I do? Do I keep on borrowing and still go back to the debt to GDP ratio high? The only thing they can do is to contain themselves. And I think that is why I really salute them for that. Let's see how they maintain that going into 2026.
All right, thank you so much, Francis Timoboy. You are talking more about fiscal discipline going into 2026. We will be getting into the details pretty shortly. But from the civil society side of things, Jennifer Moffat is here from Budget Ghana. I'm sure even before the presentation of this budget, you've been doing some work in the background. Really, what's the sense on the grounds when it comes to, the kinds of, people that you have been engaging when it comes to some of the works you do in terms of pre-budget, a service?
Thank you so much, Nee. When 2025 budget was read, we were here, and I made mention that the 2025 budget was more like a Panadol relief budget because it brought us a lot of relief. And like most of the able gentlemen in this room as said today, we saw a lot of relief coming in, and so people were much, much more expectant. Aside the budget being read, mid-year we saw a lot of improvements in the economy and everyone was happy. I think when the budget was read, my people in the office, we were shouting because aside the fact that we are Ghanaians, we are also youth, and we saw that most of the projections that government wanted to do would also benefit us. So we were very excited about it. Moving on, we've seen like Guta, Mr. Charles said, FABAG, inflation come back to 8%, as you also mentioned in your submission. And it's exciting seeing all these indicators, see this stabilizing. Everything is looking so good on paper. But the truth is it translating to people's pockets? Is it translating to our everyday life? And that is what we are not seeing. So Mr. John made mention that people are not even purchasing. It's because, yes, we are looking so good on paper, we are doing so well, inflation 8%, but the ordinary Ghanaian, when you tell the person inflation is at 8%, has anything changed in the economy right now? And that's not something that we are really seeing. So we are hoping that 2026 is going to, budget would now, all this good work that is good on paper that we are seeing, we'll now see it in the economy, like real projections, real activity, real movement, and not just that we come and say everything is looking good online, and when we go into the economy, we go into the market, we go into the schools, we go into places, we will not see, we are not feeling it. Moving that even also links to even the unemployment rate, which unemployment in total is around 13%, but youth unemployment is much, much higher at 32%. Is this what is impacting the so-called galamsey? Is this what is impacting what happened just yesterday when we heard some news, which is over 60,000 people applying, 30,000 qualifying, and you were only looking for 4,000? This is very alarming because these are youth, and it's telling us that something is really wrong for 60,000 people to apply for a job that is only for 4,000 people. We need to, as a country, stop and really rethink some of these things. So if we are saying, and that's why 2026, I have so much expectation, very high expectation for government, because not only do we want to see all the good work on paper, as civil society, as a young person who is also in Ghana, I want to see real change in the economy where we can really see that we are moving things and not just the main talks as we usually we are doing. And I like it when Mr. Charles mentioned all the beautiful things. I'm like, yeah, this is very, very beautiful, but what is it?
You cannot take it away from what some of the benefit this has been.
Oh yes,
Mr. Awinyo is here. Price was selling.
No, prices have dropped.
Have dropped.
Yes,
So that was some of the benefits.
We see that. We appreciate it. But then the people are also not purchasing because the money is not there.
So we'll be getting into why that's particular situation, and even why, despite all the good things that we've seen on paper in terms of the macroeconomic, indicators, the impact has never been felt. Is it that the 2026 budget is the one going to be the turning point?
Yes.
Because this is, someone will say, the prelims of, the government. But thank you so much, Jennifer, for your insights in terms of the assessment of the government. But let me come to Nelson. Nelson, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon again. Where you sit as a tax person, a finance person, government has rolled out a number of policies. The economic indicators we've all alluded to is, something that have turned to the right direction. Most of them have been outperformed. And so really, if you are to give your sense and paint a picture of how far the government has come, having won the 2024 elections, spent some 10 months in office, introduced some policies, what would you say is the government, trump card?
All right, thank you very much. The main challenge that we have had in this country in the past has to do with leadership. We have not gotten the kind of leadership that can transform the fundamentals of this economy. And I was mentioning on another platform that one of the factors that are actually contributing to the gains that we are seeing today is about the tone at the top right from the beginning and the kind of appointment that the president made. You cannot take that away. You cannot disassociate the appointment from the gains that we have seen today. If you look at the ministers that the president appointed, these are people who are well versed in the various sectors that they were assigned to. Before the election, I met the Honorable Finance Minister, and from the way he spoke, you get to realize that he's really up to the task. He understands the fundamentals of the economy, having been a deputy finance minister before, having served as a ranking member of the finance committee. And so in terms of the economy, he knows where the issues are. If you look at the other ministries too, you realize that they are all doing very well. Now, yes, we all agree on this platform that the economy has seen some level of stability. But I think there are some still risk factors that are still inherent there. One of the reasons why we have enjoyed this relative stability of the cedi has to do with the reserve that we have built. Now, the question is the reserve from which source? Okay, you are building a reserve from commodity exports. And those commodity exports, we don't have control over the prices. And so today, when prices of gold goes down, it means that technically we are going to get a problem. Now, at the beginning of the year, an ounce of gold was at $2,600. Today, it's around $4,100 and something, which is good. Now, we also export crude. Crude is around $74 per barrel. But today, crude is now around $64 per barrel. There is a sharp reduction over there. You also take cocoa, the backbone of our economy. Cocoa was around $11,500, but currently it has dropped sharply to $6,000. So clearly, it means that when we continue building our reserve on this commodity export, and there is some volatilities in there, we are going to have a serious challenge. And so the reason why my expectation is that going forward, we should focus more on value-added products that we can export, and that is sustainable. We should bring on board more import substitution industries. In fact, we spend almost $400 million every year importing chicken. I was even surprised, $400 million importing chicken into Ghana. So I think that these are some of the areas that government has to concentrate on, most especially the implementation of the 24-hour economy policy, which is intended to capacitate the private sector. Once we are able to shift from this colonial economic model of commodity exportation to a more value-added export, then we can build a reserve that is sustainable. We can build a reserve that is original, that can help support the cedi. However, the performance of the indicators, as you rightly mentioned, is not attributable to only the finance ministry alone. The central bank also plays a major role. Now, I always have problem with people who say, why is the central bank intervening in the market, injecting FX into the market? The kind of exchange rate system we have in Ghana is the managed floating exchange rate system, which means that we allow the market to determine the rate, but as and when it is needed, the central bank must intervene. Now, he as a business person and he as a business person, they are only interested in the stability of the exchange rate, because that is what leads to predictability. And so whether Bank of Ghana is intervening on weekly basis or intervening on daily basis, to the extent that their intervention is yielding the right result, I'm sure they will be happy. So I think the stability that we have enjoyed in terms of currency stability, in terms of price stability, the chunk of the praise must be given to the central bank, because they have done exceptionally well.
Very well, Nelson. And so the point you make really is that although the improvement we've seen is as a result of the accumulation of reserve due to the fact that we have gold and crude oil exports, any shake-up in the global commodity pricing will also have an effect on our economy, and so the economy will be more susceptible to some of these things. Again, you mentioned the Bank of Ghana's intervention. Just earlier this week, we heard the Bank of Ghana approving a new forex framework to aid the operations. Talk of transparency, talk of intermediation. We'll be talking about how all of these will help us get a stable framework. But